Mr. Vidal, thank you so much for being with us today. As you know, I'm the coordinator for the English Labs, and today we're renaming the English Labs in honor of your father, Pedro Jose Vidal. How does it feel to you and your family to have your father's memory honored in this way?
It's a humbling experience, and I think it shows how much passion he had as an educator and teaching. You know, coming to this country as a high school dropout immigrant with a child and to work full time and put himself through school, it says a lot. And I think he's the definition of what America is. You know, if you come to this country and you work hard, you can accomplish anything. And to end up being a professor at Bowie State University and then having the Literacy Center be named, you know, add his name to it, it's humbling. It really is. And I was already proud of my dad, and this is just, you know, this is the icing on the cake.
Excellent. Now, speaking with some of the professors that worked with your father, I can tell that, you know, his impact was very great on this campus and certainly in this department because of the many strides he made with the Modern Languages Lab. From what I understand, he also brought a Modern Languages Conference to our campus. Do you know anything about those works, and if so, what?
All I knew that he was big on technology in the classroom when teaching foreign languages. And ever since I was little, I remember him with a computer and always with technology to facilitate learning. How could technology be used to facilitate learning? Because technology doesn't necessarily facilitate learning unless it's used as a tool. And the educator has to consciously design a plan or a program that's going to incorporate technology in the classroom for it to be effective. And I think my dad was key on that, and he knew how to do that. I don't know how, but he knew how.
Okay, well, wonderful. Maybe he just had that gift for that. I spoke to some of his students actually yesterday, and one student is on program reading a poem in his honor. So we look forward to seeing that, and I look forward to seeing how you enjoy the ceremony, you and your family. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It is my pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon for the dedication of the Smith-Vidal Literacy and Language Center. One of the persons after whom the Smith-Vidal Literacy and Language Center is named was Pedro Vidal, who worked for 10 years in this department and endeared himself to everyone. I think it's very fitting that we should name this center after him as one of the persons. We loved him in those 10 years and we still miss him. I would like to welcome his family, his wife, would you please stand? And his sons, Pedro Jr., Pedro Vidal Jr. I would also, thank you. I would also like to welcome the rest of the family who are here, the rest of the Vidal family who are here today. And the faculty, the university faculty, and particularly the members of the English department who took part in who arranged this and who have attended today. We're going to have, I just want to say a few words before we go on. I was Pedro Vidal's chair in this department while he was here, and I got to know him very well. I found that he was very conscientious in his approach to teaching and to his research activities. He was responsible for bringing the Maryland Foreign Language Association here to have a conference, I believe sometime in 2003 and again in 2004. And I was struck by the effort that he put into making this a really worthwhile event when it happened. The students loved him. And when he became ill, we all grieved. And as I said, we were very moved by his death. The program this afternoon, on the program this afternoon, We start with Dr. Ann Gaskins Ned, who is the current chair of the department. And she will be followed by Professor Stephanie Johnson and Dr. Richard Sterling, who also worked with Professor Vidal closely. One taught French, the other taught Spanish. They were like two anchors, and we in the English department in between. And Dr. Sterling, I'm sure, will have very good words, very moving words to say about Professor Vidal. And we will also, I forgot to acknowledge Dean Acqua. Where is he? You're right behind that camera and I did not see you. I'd like to acknowledge the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Acqua. Please. Okay. And there will be remarks on behalf of the Vidal family by Mr. Pedro Vidal III, and a special reading of Camino de Agua, written by Nicole Jones. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ned.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. And let me add my welcome to those who have joined us here today for what will become a really historic occasion for us. And I want to offer also my special welcome to the Vidal family. I've had an opportunity to meet the Mrs. Vidal, Theodore, I want to get this right, and Felipe, and of course I already know Pedro the third. Also his sisters in the audience, if you'll just wave. And there are other friends and family members who have come to participate in this activity. I want to thank again Dr. Acqua for attending, and we also have in the audience Mrs. Pruitt. Mrs. Pruitt is with Institutional Advancement, and as the program proceeds, you'll sort of understand why she's here, I think. As many of you will recall, those of you who've been at Bowie as long as I have at any rate, and I always like to share that, but I like to give you a little math to do. I came in 1972. So while I'm talking, you can kind of calculate the years. But many of you will recall that more than 2 decades ago, we named the department's writing center the Dorothy Sizemore Smith Computer Assisted Writing Center, in honor of one of our outstanding faculty members who helped to mold the lives of many young people at Bowie State University, herself for probably 30 or so years. A couple of semesters ago, we decided to combine the Writing Center, the Reading Lab, and the Modern Languages Laboratory under one umbrella name. And when the question was put to the faculty as to what we would call the new facility, the vote was unanimous. And thus we have the Smith Vidal Literacy and Language Center. Mrs. Vidal, family, and friends, this unanimous vote speaks eloquently of the tremendous respect the faculty as well as the students in the department had and still have for the contributions of Professor Vidal to our department, to the university, and certainly to the larger community. I won't read the biographical sketch, but it indicates that he was instrumental in establishing the Modern Languages Laboratory, that he wrote a proposal for a Bachelor of Arts in Foreign Languages and Culture, that he helped to build a strong collection of books and other materials in the Thurgood Marshall Library for Spanish, French, and English. And I pause here to say that Kevin Patier is here from the library, and he told me a few minutes ago he worked with me for 10 years untiringly to ensure that the collection was strong. In addition, he was able to secure from a friend of his a sizable Spanish collection for the library, and we're appreciative of all of that. He was active in several professional organizations, including the Latin American Studies Association, the Modern Languages Association, and the Maryland Foreign Language Association. And you've already heard Dr. Harris say that he was very instrumental in bringing the conference to this campus for 2 years. He's also known for his work in the community. Maybe some of the friends who are here today may know of that. He worked with the Spanish Catholic Center, the Guatemala Human Rights Commission, USA, and the Hispanic Alliance of Maryland. And while I did not know Professor Vidal as well as Dr. Harris and Dr. Sterling, I think I can say that his life was well lived. Just judging from what I've read about him, from what I've learned about him from the family members and those who knew him well, his was a life well lived. And we were very fortunate to have known him in this academic community for nearly a decade. And now, for the unveiling, Dean Aqua, would you come up front, please? Dean Aqua, faculty, staff, and students, friends. I've been told how to do this. Professor Vidal's portrait will hang in MLK 204. For those of you who may be wondering where is the language lab, will hang in room 204, and you'll get to see that before the day is over. One of the 3 labs that I mentioned a few minutes ago. And this portrait will represent our love and our respect for Professor Vidal, and it will become a way of permanently reminding us of the great person that he was, the great teacher, and the great colleague that he was. Thank you so much.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Professor Stephanie Johnson. I'm the coordinator for Smith-Vidal Literacy and Language Center. I did not know Professor Vidal personally, but working on putting this program together with my colleagues, it became clear to me that he was very instrumental in everything that he did in this department for the Modern Languages Lab and for his students. And actually, one of his former students will be on program today to share a poem with you. It is also my honor today to announce the establishing of a book award in his honor. So not only today will we officially name the Literacy and Language Center after him and Dorothy Sizemore Smith, but Professor Pedro Jose Vidal will also have a book award in honor of his memory. More information about how you may contribute. If you would like to contribute to the book award, you can get information about that at our Office of Institutional Advancement. And actually, I invite Ms. Pruitt now, she would like to say a few words about that, to do so at this time.
Well, we do enjoy the opportunity to receive support, particularly when it is in memory of someone that was so special to so many. And so I have had the sheer pleasure of getting to know about Professor Vidal in the last few days as I've met with various colleagues who have wanted to make gifts in order to give this fund a nice beginning. And so I'm very happy to announce that we already have in gifts and pledges $4,000 committed to. And the office will reach out to the department and to alumni to give everyone an opportunity who might want to support the fund. And we'll begin making awards immediately. And our office will also explore with the family and with these friends and colleagues the possibility of having this fund become a perpetual fund by becoming an endowment. So we're well on our way. An endowment is established at $10,000, and this is a very good start. So I look forward to the conversations in the coming days and weeks, and we'll see where all of that takes us. But what a wonderful person your father was, and your husband. So I love it when I have these opportunities to reminisce and to help the university continue to move forward at the same time. Thank you.
I'm Richard Sterling, and Pedro
and I worked closely for 10 years. So, and so he was like a brother to me. And his passing has never quite personally registered because I think about him a lot and things he said to me, and it's as though he's still around somewhere. I think that I would begin by saying that Dr. Ned, you said you came in 1972 to Bowie. Pedro, I believe, came to the country in 1973, and from Venezuela, and he spoke very little English, but he was ambitious. So he continued his education. He became a teacher. He lectured at the U.S. Department of State Foreign Service Institute. He lectured for the Council on the Business Council on International Understanding in White Oak, Maryland, and for the Foreign Service Institute in Washington, D.C. So he was quite an intelligent man. And he was the kind of person to whom you could talk without any concern that you would have to delve into what he was saying to find out what he was really saying. He was very upfront. He said what he thought, and you knew what he thought. And you felt at ease. He was very at ease with himself. He was very at ease with himself, so you felt at ease to express your own differing views to him. And even you may or may not agree with him, but you felt at ease to express your views. He was a very hard worker, and that's why I enjoyed the 10 years association that we had, because we worked on so many things, and he had enthusiasm. You've heard some of the things he's done. He had enthusiasm for doing those things, and he was. We completed a lot of things together. On the personal side, I know that he was a wonderful husband and much loved by his wife and by his sons. I met Pete later on when he came to Bowie, but I always heard about, in the early years, about Teo and Felipe, because Pedro had a regular routine in which he went home at a certain time to tutor his sons for their schoolwork. And I thought that was wonderful. I remember that. And I remember Violetta, when Pedro organized the Maryland Foreign Language Association, 2 technology conferences. I remember Violetta coming to help with the signs and things like that. And we also were friends. We went out several times together, and I remember, in particular, a very festive party at Pedro's brother's house where his aunts were. And of course I met his parents. His father came here several times to visit his mother. I met his mother and his family who were here. And his aunts. There's one thing that might not, that I recall that he did for the department. He secured a guest speaker who was his aunt, who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Venezuela. And she came to the department, sat in this room, and talked about different cultural differences between law, and which I thought was very interesting. And he was, there's a lot I could say about him, but I knew him, when he passed, it's very strange. I didn't think he was really gone, because a lot of the things he said to me stuck with me. So to me, he's still around somewhere. And let's see, what else? I have to read my notes. I took some notes. A couple of things. Oh, I remember that he supported the French section. There was at the French embassy, there was a Francophone Day, and around 2000, they have it every year, but this particular year, it was around 2003, 2002. And Pedro and Violetta came with some of Pedro's students to the French embassy with me. And it was the Francophone Day as the day in which the French embassies all over the world celebrate the diversity of French-speaking countries, and countries have their boutiques there selling their goods and wares. And there was a band with playing music, but it was nice. I thought it was very nice of Pedro to come and to bring his family and student. So that was the kind of person he was. He was, I think, ambitious. Yes, he had to be. But he came a long way from the day that he first came to this country. So he was a very impressive person. And I feel a loss and sadness, of course. So, but it's been a pleasure to know his family and to continue my relationship with them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yeah, at Bowie State, we say that every day is a good day at Bowie. But today is especially good because we've come to celebrate excellence. And when it comes to excellence, I will scale the mountaintop and do everything I can, because in fact I'm supposed to be somewhere right now. So I'm just going to be giving my remarks, and I hop into my car and drive about 3 hours away for my meeting elsewhere. I wasn't going to miss this occasion for all the oil in Venezuela. Excellence is a word that has been thrown about, sometimes flippantly. I mean, it means so many things or different things to different people. But you are not excellent because you say you are excellent. You are excellent because you do excellent things. Not because you are handsome and have a nice mustache, but you are excellent because you do excellent things. And I mean, in life, very few people will have the privilege of having something named in their honor. And if I had that privilege, I would like something that is linked with education to be named in my honor. And so I envy Prof. Vidal for this occasion. We are very proud, so I'm sure you being the family people, you are bursting with pride. And you should be, because I mean, he was a man of stature. He stood among his peers, and he was excellent because he was head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, his contributions are so eloquently described in the program. So today we are here to honor him, and we are very pleased that the family could join us. There's a lot of symbolism. I'm told there's something very special about having the how many balloons? Seven stars of, yeah. Okay, anyway, okay. Yeah. But again, like I said, students that go through this program will always link their experiences with Prof. Vidal. Because again, like I said, even though he's not here, the foundations that he laid for teaching is going to influence a generation of people who are going to also influence their generation. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. And that is why, with those who are in academia, we don't really count our blessings according to the dollars. We count our blessings according to the lives, the lives that we are able to change. Because again, when you are able to influence one child, one student, and the person goes on to touch different people, then it keeps proliferating, and very soon we are better off because somebody became a teacher, or somebody decided to devote his life to providing technology so that students can learn much more effectively. So we are really very, very proud to have been, I never knew him, but of course, like I said, knowing you is like knowing him, because I know that his life will live on forever. So we're really very, very proud that the English department took it upon themselves to really give this honor to the family. But again, like I said, it's going to be something that we are going to cherish forever. Today, we had a meeting with a group from NASA. I had a team from NASA, 7 people from NASA, and 4 from NASA, 3 from Honeywell. And one of the goals that we have here is to build what we call programs of distinction, or programs of excellence. And this is going to be one of the programs that we are going to focus on to be one of the programs of excellence as Beacon, things that we are using to really impact the lives of students here at Bowie. So again, I mean, this is only the beginning. I mean, you'll be seeing a lot more of this program. So Mrs. Vidal, we are very proud that you shared your husband with us for 10 years. I mean, the children I met, is it Pete, who is Pete? Okay, yeah, Pete, and then I met two guys. I met them all anyway. So we are indeed very, very proud that, I mean, you joined us today, and we will cherish his memory forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wow. Well, if my dad was here, he'd be truly humbled and honored just for this event for today. What Dr. Sterling left out was when my dad came to this country, he was a high school dropout, and he came to this country. So without an education, with a family and a child, and barely speaking the language, he managed to go to school full-time, work full-time, and raise a family, and end up a professor. So that says a lot. I mean, if that's not the American dream, I don't know what is, you know? So as his son, I'm very proud. I mean, I've always been proud of my dad. So I told someone else before, this is like the icing on the cake. I already knew how awesome my dad was. But for other people to see the contributions that he made is just fantastic. As a full-time graduate student myself, I now understand the pressures and the academic rigors that my dad went through while raising a family and working full-time. And I have no idea how he did it so calmly and so eloquently. So I hope to one day be able to reach that high as my dad did. So on behalf of my family, we thank Bowie State University and this department, and we will always remember this. And I hope to, you know, that my brothers will pass this on to their children in the future. So thank you very much.
Ok, primero, buenas tardes a todos. Okay, me llamo Nicole y soy una estudiante de Profesor Richardson. And I'm not going to say too much in Spanish. I know we have half of the audience speaking Spanish and others not, so I'm going to switch back and forth a little bit. Professor Vidal, he was my professor in 2003, and now I've graduated pretty much. I just returned to get a degree in nursing. So what I'm going to read today is called El Camino de Agua, y no lo escribe. I didn't write it, but it's by somebody from Venezuela by the name of Elazar León, and pretty much he was a professor de la Escuela de Letras en la Universidad Central de Venezuela, okay? And nació en Caracas. He was born in Caracas, a part of Venezuela, in 1946, and murió a 63 años de edad. So he died at the age of 63, okay? And pretty much what this is about is talking about el poder de agua del mundo, the power of water in the world and how it has the power to change things. So here I go with this, okay? Siguen cayendo en la memoria, lluvias que no cesaron, y en el día y más allá cubren el mundo. Y es el agua primera del río, que nunca deje de ser reino, de ser un sueño. Y es el agua primera de la sed sucesiva, y el agua última de los días labios, los últimos labios, bebiéndola para siempre. Nada como el desierto para soñar el agua. Caraloja del viento, nada como la arena, para desear hasta la inclemencia, que se cambian sus granos en gotas de sosiego, y las gotas se cambian en secreta simiente, y así es el desierto sería mar, y la mar una tierra fértil. La fiesta del universo es una camino de agua, las estrellas navegan las piedras, los destinos, y el barro que se junta en los rincones de anochecer. También la barrera de los vientos del mundo, volando y deshaciéndose. Gracias a todos.
We've come to the end of these proceedings. One of the things I'd like to say is that as a Guyanese, who was also an immigrant, as Pedro was, I got to know him very well because our two countries are neighboring. And I knew him during the time when I believe Venezuela had made claims on parts of Guyana. Territorial claims. Those claims involved areas of land that where there was much gold. And so there were heated feelings, I believe, on either side. He and I managed, and I tend sometimes to become very passionate about my own country. But somehow in our discussions, he was always so calm. He held to his own views, I held to mine, and we still managed to have an excellent working relationship. Not many of us can say that. Somebody said that he's no longer with us, but he is. His spirit is right here. You can feel it in this room. One of the things by which he lived, I noticed my Spanish is rather rusty, and I had some difficulty following Nicole Jones. Sometimes I tend to watch advertisements, Spanish stations, but they speak so fast that you have to look at the pictures sometimes like you're learning English. One of the principles by which it appeared to me that Pedro lived is, I think, based on this saying at the bottom of this page, pardon my accent, and cada día trato ser mejor. Every day I try to be better. And this was how he lived, in spite of all the difficulties that we had sometimes during our working situation. And I like to remember him that way. I urge you to remember him that way and perhaps to have it reflected in your own life. Again, I'd like to thank his wife and sons, Pedro, and thank you for your words. I'd like to thank people who took part in the program. I'd like to thank the relatives and friends of Pedro Vidal who came here today. And of course, the faculty of the department, and Ms. Pruitt, welcome again. I invite you to go next door and perhaps we can continue a conversation on him. Thank you again.
Pedro had only been here a few weeks when I had a knock on the door from the manager of the townhouse complex where we lived up on Connecticut Avenue in Kensington, Maryland. And he said, Gene, he says, I'd like for you to talk to this young man because he wants a job. And I said, well, okay. I was in the painting business at the time. That's what I did while I was going to the University of Maryland. So I talked with, so I said, okay. So I went over and talked with him, and that was the beginning of a very, very special relationship in my life. Pedro, I would call it a blessing because over the years, Pedro was one of the few people in my life that doesn't matter about the passage of time, and everybody has one of these people in their life. The passage of time doesn't mean anything. So if you call them Friday and you call them Monday, or you don't call them for a year, or you don't see them for 3 years, or whatever the deal is, when you pick up the phone, you know exactly who it is. And you can say what you want to say about something the government did, or something the government didn't do, or some politician, or some new law, or whatever it is. And there's no judgment. You just say it and then you talk about it. And one of the things that amazed me, it was kind of a surprise in the beginning, but later as I got older, I looked back on it, and it was a lot more than just a surprise, because Pedro and I didn't speak the same language. So when the first day we went on the job and we're sitting around eating lunch and other things, right off the bat, we're talking in broken Spanish and broken English and new words that we made up so we could understand each other. And we were talking about philosophy and art and psychology and business and politics and history. And it was kind of amazing to me, because having been in the business at that time, I was just starting. But that never happened again. No matter who I hired from, you know, that were working with me, what country they were from, or from what education they had, etc., that never happened. And so I look back on that and I say, God, that was really amazing. Sitting around having these kind of conversations with somebody that you just met, number one, and number two, you don't even speak the language. But we were able to communicate, and so over the years, we'd call each other out of the blue sky, and he'd tell me what he's doing, tell me what I was doing. And when the boys came and I saw everything he did, it was just amazing to see a guy go, as Dr. Sterling said, from not even a high school education at the time, to go where he went and all the things that he did. It was just amazing to me to watch and see, be a part of a family with that kind of integrity, which, by the way, his father and mother, of course, had a lot to do with that, right? You know, and his father was a little on the strict side, but that's still, there's a lot of integrity and sincerity there, and say what you mean and mean what you say. And that's all I just want to say. I thank you so much for inviting me to this. I really appreciate you guys.